NFL Red Zone decided to take on commercials.
I warned the people. We talked about NFL Red Zone a couple weeks ago, and I said, listen here, Mickey Mouse and ESPN and Bobby Iger. You keep your hands off of Red Zone. You keep your filthy white hands, you little Mickey Mouse glove loving. What are you doing in the NFL? You stay in the Magic Kingdom, stay down in Orlando. Do not enter the Red Zone studio. Do not mess with it, or there is going to be hell to pay from NFL fans. Again, when you start spending billions and billions of dollars, I think we even mentioned on that show that we talked about a couple weeks ago, ads are coming on Red Zone. I thought maybe they'd give us one season, just let it be regular, let us ease in, like a little, a pool, deep pool where you kind of have the slope and you go into it slowly. Nope, we're just throwing it all in there. And this is exactly what I was talking about when I said, ESPN's going to the irrelevance of MTV with music, like MTV was to music. ESPN's heading there with sports. They have already started picking and prodding, and we'll have to see the production. Here's the hot take. Obviously, I'm not happy about it, but as long as you're not changing the production team, you're not changing Scott Hansen, I think whoever, as a team, I'm a big production guy, like whoever runs that show is top-tier talent. And so as long as they're still there, I think they can pull it off. And again, from a business side, you got to understand that when people are buying billions of dollars for a stake in something, they're going to try and squeeze everything out of the lemon. But yeah, it's a disappointment to see such an amazing brand start to change, especially at the hands of ESPN that's been run to the ground over the last decade.
Yeah, I miss the old ESPN. When I was in high school and middle school, I'd wake up. Me and my brother would have breakfast and then immediately brush your teeth and right into Sports Center for a good 30, 45 minutes. We were lucky enough that for whatever reason we got picked up like at the top of the hour. So we'd end with the top 10 plays and go right into school, which was just a nice way to start your morning as a 13-year-old. But yeah, dude, I mean, here's the thing. Like you said, when you have something like this, as big of a purchase as this is and how much attention they have, I mean, we are in the age of attention right now. That is just where we all are. Everybody's trying to sell it. I mean, shit, I'm trying to sell it on a much smaller scale, but I'm trying to do the same thing. It's just like everybody, if you have an audience, everybody wants to get a hold of that audience. And the fact that Red Zone has lasted this long, how long has Red Zone been in the game, TiVo? And they've been commercialists for the entire time, have they not?
Yeah. I do not know that answer off the top of my head. We're going to have to hit the stats and info department real quick, but I'll do that.
Get the stats going. But the fact that they've held off this long makes it even more enticing for people who want to get into that audience because that audience is so ingrained. It's so ingrained in their Sundays that, there's a lot of people upset. There's, obviously there's backlash as far as like, I'm canceling my membership and all this stuff. But like, at the end of the day, most people are going to stick around. It's not going to affect, that much. I think Scott Hansen came out and said, well, we will not miss a touchdown, which I'm not sure how that's possible. I'm not sure how it will work that they won't miss a touchdown.
Well, so a little, again, I got the stats and info here. Yeah. NFL Red Zone's been around since 2009, but if you recall, there was actually two. DirecTV, I think, actually kind of coined, well, maybe the NFL coined the concept with DirecTV, and then they own the rights, so they created their own and made it better because the DirecTV one was hosted by, God, I can't remember his name. Not, good host, not bad, but didn't have the electricity that Scott Hansen did, obviously, and so that one faded away. DirecTV started in 2005. The one we know today with Scott Hansen premiered in 2009, so still around today. And then obviously the DirecTV one folded. For your question for not missing a touchdown, a little inside baseball for you, Pat. Spin around the baseball term. Basically, when there's the production room, right? And so they have probably a small team on each game, right? There's how many games going on at the same time at the height of the season? There could be 9-10 games in a window, and you have your producer on each game, you have an editor on each game, and then you have the full team that's producing the show. And so they're watching this big board and they're seeing, okay, Tyreek Hill runs 50 yards for a touchdown. Okay, tee up Tyreek Hill touchdown. and then, somebody from Pittsburgh Steelers, Aaron Rodgers, rolls out and hits DK Metcalf, and then like, okay, cue that up, put it in, and they're building the block. And so like even Red Zone, it's not truly, there's some things that are definitely live, and Scott Hansen said that, like, oh, it's live for me, I get thrown off, but it's still on a delay because they're building the package. So like it could be a 5-second delay, it could be a 10-second delay, but you can kind of tell sometimes when they're building for a big play. Every once in a while you can kind of pick it up, at least in my mind. But that doesn't mean that Scott Hansen knows what's coming. So it's live for him, like it's live for you sitting at home watching, but they're in the back building the timeline live for what's going to be shown. And so there's definitely a delay. So basically when they cut to these commercial breaks, whether they're going to be for, I don't think it was announced, is it going to be a minute, 90 seconds, 2 minutes? So while that's going on, the production team's going to be building, the exact sequence that we're going to come back to. So if a big play happens inside that, 2-minute window, that's obviously going to lead the thing. And they're not going to do a recap. They're like, okay, while we were gone, this is what you missed. They're just kind of going to naturally, it's like, check out, what ad are we doing here? What do we like? Be like, oh, check out Costco. We still got $1.50 hot dogs. Inflation doesn't mean anything to us. And then they're just going to slowly fade back into, the 20-yard line. Aaron Rodgers under center, drops back in the corner. DK Metcalf touchdown. So it's not, I don't think he's going to tee it up. He's not going to tee it up as like, all right, while we were on break, here's what we missed down in Pittsburgh. We got a DK Metcalf touchdown. It's just going to be that natural slide into the line.
Yeah.
But you're going to be getting the alerts. The problem is you're going to be on all the fantasy alerts of all the super fans out there. You're going to be watching the Costco commercial, and you're going to be getting the fantasy alerts for the DK Metcalf touchdown.
Yeah.
And then they're going to slide back on you and give it to you.
Yeah. Listen, and it's part of the world that we all live in. You're probably right. They probably won't. They don't, especially now with everything that's happening. They don't want people to feel like they're missing something. But like you said, like we all have at least alerts for our favorite teams or our fantasy teams. We're constantly watching. Now, hand up, I'm not a red zone guy. I like to have like my own little red zone where I have like 4 different games on my TV, and I just watch. Well, I try to pick and choose, obviously, for my fantasy guys. And so I'm not like a big red zone guy myself. But with that being said, red zone has this like huge audience, and like you said, like we have so many people that just get the alerts on your phone that know exactly when things are happening. And if they're in the middle of a commercial, it used to be on Red Zone probably where you might get the alert and then that Scott Hansen's like teeing it up at that moment. Like it's happening. It's like in real time. Whereas on the back end, you could be in the middle of a Costco commercial, like you said, which, by the way, great Costco commercial. No, inflation doesn't mean anything to us. But you could be on the back end of that and or in the middle of that commercial, and like you're just going to have to sit there and wait a little bit now, and you're not going to get the touchdown quite as quickly. Again, ultimately, I think it doesn't matter. I think you'll have some of this pushback, right? Google Trends this morning showed that NFL Red Zone had been searched 20,000 times. So like you have a little bit of that pushback. But here's the other thing. Like we talked about pre-show, and we can get into it later, but this wasn't even the most trending thing when you looked up the NFL. When you're talking about Google Trends right now, you have if you just look up NFL, the number one trending thing for NFL on Google Trends right now is, did Mr. Beast buy the NFL? Which again, we can get into later, but then you have NFL Red Zone and NFL football tied. So it's not, NFL football is actually spiking in the last hour. So it's, it's not even. And here's the other thing. When did they officially announce this? Was this yesterday, TiVo?
The commercials or Mr. Beast?
Commercials.
Yeah, I don't know. Because
that's when I saw the outrage.
Honestly, a hand up. That Personal Life TiVo's been having a doozy of all good stuff, but like just an absolute doozy. And I did a crypto show this week, and I was ill prepared. So yeah, I kind of, it was something that basically, I guess in my mind, now that I'm thinking about it, I knew was coming, and then you sensed it. I was like, oh shit. Remember I texted you? I was like, shame on the NFL.
Shame.
shout out for life events closing on a condo here in Tampa this week. So that's where my
Oh, yeah.
focus has been. After
Congratulations, my
everything
friend.
else. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know when it's been announced, but I kind of just in my forefront of my brain knew that this was coming. So
I mean, we got Bleacher Report, Sports Illustrated, New York Post, all sending out an article 18, 17, 14 hours ago. So about definitely yesterday, I would imagine, is when it came out.
And they try to bury it with a Mr. Beast video.
Which is exactly what I was getting into. They definitely, it was strategic. I mean, listen, here's the statistics on NFL Red Zone. Homes reached was a little bit less than 10 million. ESPN household reach, not just Red Zone, is 65.3 million. The NFL Network household reach, so just the NFL Network, is 50 to 51.5 million as of 2023. Here is an interesting little snippet here. Projected ad revenue, and they says Red Zone here, but it seems like a lot in ad revenue for just Red Zone. They have it here on ChatGPT, but I'm calling this out as I'm flagging this for you, TiVo. I'm flagging this.
I like that in the spirit. Opening day, there's a flag on the play.
I'm going to put a flag on the play here because this seems like an aggressive number for just Red Zone at 10 million views, 10 million households reach, but they have it at projected revenue of 1.1 billion for Red Zone in 2025. Again, maybe it's a multi-year deal. They're not kind of referencing here, but flag on the play here. I think that's not accurate. Average viewers per NFL game. TiVo, what do you think the average viewers are per NFL game? Let's ask that.
We've done this before with like TV shows and stuff.
Yeah, but listen, here we are. What do you think the average viewers were per NFL game last year?
It's low. I think it's like a lower figure in the sense like, are you getting amped up for Cardinals Browns? Like if you're throwing that stat in there, it's not the Super Bowl. I would like to know what the average Super Bowl is because I forget. I'll say I want average is going to be 1.5 million, 2 million.
No, thank you. That is the incorrect answer.
I'm going to start getting questions for you. I'm always on the hot seat for these. Pull a million number out of your ass.
Just literally pull a number out of your butt. You have no chance of getting that. 17.5 million is the answer. You were wrong, my friend. You were very wrong, my friend.
So then the Super Bowl's cracking 100 million? Is that a good number?
I don't have that statistic in front of me.
Pat, give us a guess. Pat, no, please, give us a guess. Super Bowl viewership, Pat, please.
Super Bowl viewership. Let's give us the guess. I like this game. Super Bowl viewership. 17.5 average. Super Bowl's supposed to be the biggest show in the world. I'm going to say I think I'll say 107 million people.
Oh no.
Oh no.
127.
Oh, I'm pretty close.
Well, you're 20 million off. I was only 16 million off. So it's
but if we talk about percentages off,
well, I mean,
I'm really close in comparison to you.
You don't want to go over, so I didn't. I thought this was Price is Right. It's just a number. It's 16 million versus 20 million.
Well, listen here. Here we are. We both were wrong.
Oh
no. All right, here you go. Streaming services for the ESPN. What does it cost, TiVo, per month?
Streaming services for ESPN, and that's going to include Red Zone now,
I guess.
They're probably doing like what, $20 a month, 22.
Wow,
nailed it.
Incorrect.
Oh no.
$29.99.
God, Bob Iger.
Sheesh. Yeah. ESPN equity in NFL deal, 10% stake, $2.2 to $2.5 billion in value. Listen, I don't know how you. I wonder how they kind of back their way into these deals. And I wonder if this was kind of a part of the deal, so to speak. And like just wasn't kind of told. I mean, according to again, I'm gonna throw a flag on this play as well. Although I believe it, I believe this one, but I'm gonna throw a flag on the play as well because they also say they tested the ad break in December 2024, week 15. Now, I don't know if that is accurate, but
I think I remember. I don't know if they were doing this full time. I do remember some type of ad on RedZone where the football screen went top left corner pretty small, and then the rest was an ad. But there was no audio. The audio was still constant on football. Pat in the back of the classroom with a question.
Yes, so I actually have a little bit more context here. Shout out ChatGPT for giving articles to source their material on. You are very correct, my friend. It was a split screen ad test, week 15 of 2024, and according to the little blurb here on ChatGPT, it hit like a gut punch. Users of the popular television channel that shows every touchdown from every game on Sundays from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. were surprised and annoyed to see Sunday's broadcast of Week 15 had ads throughout its broadcast. 7 hours of commercial-free football, and now we're dropping commercials in split screen. One viewer tweeted Sunday they just can't help themselves. 15 seconds at commercials and ads in NFL RedZone. Another said the final death blow to Western civilization. I think that's a bit much. But yeah, I listen. Oh, now I'm getting ads on Front Office Sports when I scroll down. But listen, so they did test it at the end of last year. Listen, it's not. I don't think it's as bad of a thing as they are all. And here's the other thing: if part of that test, I'm sure, was to see the backlash they got, and clearly they didn't get enough for where they cared. There's just too much money.
You're not going to watch NFL football. I mean, you can ruin RedZone if you go too far, I think. But you're not going to watch it for sure.
Yeah. No, here's one. Forbes.com. This is where they're getting the 1.1 billion in projected ad revenue for NFL RedZone. Let me see if I can scroll to where it actually says it before I get an advertisement. Definitely appeal here. Advertising fuels the football business. This is a little bit longer than I had expected. Ads don't have to subtract from ESPN's NFL coverage. Beyond the feelings that ads during RedZone will somehow betray what audiences love about the channel, audience pushback comes in part from the idea that ads are inherently bad. 80% of consumers would prefer to get more ads in return for having to pay nothing for websites and apps. That's interesting. And that's a 2024 study. And at least for the TV, there's limited research to support the idea that consumers broadly dislike advertising. So if an ad-supported RedZone is included as part of the larger ESPN streaming offering without an additional upcharge, then audience are getting what they want there. No. So I will say, listen, you and I are millennials. We grew up with ads. We grew up with, hey, running to the kitchen during the commercial break. We grew up with that. And I will say there are times during NFL days where I have 4 games going on all at once. There are times where I would love a little bit of a break so I could go run and get some guacamole or something, right? So I will say there's a little bit of that for me. I'm not anti-ad. Now I feel like I'm in the media game a little bit, so I want to get I get the game, so I'm probably a little bit more of a friendly audience for them, but I understand having to sell the rights to to that audience and sell kind of, I don't want to say sell your soul, but that audience is attractive for a lot of companies that will pay a lot of money. And according to this Forbes article, people will the amount is like 1.1 billion. I'm going to control F this 1.1. There you go. Disney Plus also launched as an ad-free service before introducing its ad-supported tier in 2022. Revenues are estimated to reach nearly 1.1 billion in 2025. So there you go. I threw a flag on the play, and I was correct. ChatGPT does this sometimes, where they pull an article about something, they see a number, and then they say that this is what it's going to be. That was 1.1 billion was in reference to Disney Plus. So there is no estimated revenue, at least in this article, for anything as far as advertisement is concerned on specifically NFL Red Zone. And you'd have to imagine. Let's take this one step further. What would you expect a 10 million subscriber YouTube channel to bring in money wise? Let's see what ChatGPT says about that, just as a little bit of a base, to kind of get a little bit of some knowledge here. Ad revenue estimates: AdSense alone can bring in 55,000 to 275,000 per month, depending on view volume and CPM, commonly between 2 and 5. Another estimates align 55K to 275 on 10 million. This gives you a rough ad-only revenue range of 660,000 to 3.3 million annually. With that being said, guys, obviously, you're not, you have to leave 55% or 45% to YouTube on a YouTube channel AdSense. This is not talking about deals you have with, a company, between the two of you rather than YouTube in being involved. And you don't have the bargaining power that the NFL has. So this is a nice little baseline just to kind of give an idea of what maybe a 10 million subscriber platform would get. But obviously the NFL deal is going to be significantly larger than this. At the end of the day, the 1.1 billion, obviously, now that we know it's Disney Plus, was clearly wrong. But what would that number be? I would say NFL probably can get in the hundreds of millions, maybe, for NFL Red Zone, maybe a little bit less than that. Mm-hmm. Depends if they package it with other things and such. But I think they can definitely get more than what a 10 million subscriber YouTube channel can get. But I don't know exactly how much more at the end of the day. And again, I'd be curious, how do these companies I do a CPM deal with most of my companies that I'm working on a media deal with. I don't know that they are doing CPM deals at this kind of a level. Do you have any idea? I mean, you were in the Barstool game. I know you weren't in the negotiating table for this stuff, but do you have any idea how they do this?
The business side's completely separate over there. So they don't even, I was a mid-level producer, so I don't know what's going on at the higher ends. Obviously, Big Cat's an owner at this point, but your higher shows, are they showing you deals and getting you in the room? But you wouldn't see, besides YouTube, which is public, you wouldn't see podcast numbers. You wouldn't see any of that stuff from your own stats for the show versus ad deal negotiations. You just kind of got told what was coming in. I have no idea. But
you didn't get told the statistics from your own show?
No.
Not I'm not talking about money statistics, just your viewership.
Yeah, for podcast downloads, they kept that tight to the best.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess maybe they don't want you to know how popular you are or how not popular you are.
Yeah. Obviously YouTube's a curveball for that, and you get a sense depending on the show. But
yeah,
that was definitely, when I was there, it was definitely the rise of the YouTube era, the conversion. That's kind of when I came in, was we were converting everything to YouTube shows. But it was not the end of the podcast era, obviously, but the podcast was the only thing, and everybody was like, well, should we do YouTube? And then now it's it's mandatory, right? You got to do both, obviously.
Yeah, YouTube is just the thing with YouTube, and as you and I do some long form together, as we're currently sitting here doing long form together, the thing with YouTube is that people are there to watch long form content. YouTube Shorts is fairly new to the game. And I think it's a way to kind of support your long form journey on YouTube, but it's not like TikTok. I don't know people that go. There's clearly are. We get thousands of views on our shorts, but I don't know people that go on YouTube on their phone and scroll shorts. And maybe they do.
They do. There's people that have preferences. I was surprised that my dad likes doing, it depends your age group and what you go towards, right? Like there's the TikTok generation, then there's the Instagram generation. And my dad was, over Christmas, I just noticed, I was like, oh, you're scrolling. I was like, are you on Reels? He's like, no, it's just Facebook, which is like the same thing, but it's through the Facebook app or through this app, or you're a YouTube person. So then I've seen people scrolling on shorts on YouTube too. It's definitely kind of personal preference because it's really all the same content, honestly.
I will say, when we're thinking about scrolling, I'm I will say like it would be nice, and we should probably do this more on our own platform. It would be nice if I was scrolling on a specific platform, YouTube being the example here, and you have the ability to click into a longer form of what you're talking about here. That's kind of like an easy quote unquote vertical, as they say in the biz. So I think that would be I wouldn't hate that ability where you're just kind of scrolling. You're like, I am interested in this. Let me hear more about it. Or like you go to it and you just do a little save so you can watch it later. I think that is an interesting kind of way of doing things. I don't see you and I on our show getting a ton of people tuning in. I don't see you and I getting a ton of people tuning in for like from our shorts. I don't. I haven't. I mean, I don't know exactly how to even kind of look that up.
Yeah, the conversion rates.
Yeah,
Stuff. It's a totally different algo in a way. It's like the shorts feed versus the long form feed versus the live feed. I think the live and long form is obviously closer together than shorts, but they're all different.
yeah. I will say, like when we do these lives, and then we just release them into the wild for long form, they do okay.
Yeah.
They're doing okay. So like I think that it's certainly. I like doing this stuff because like you talk about like the Pat McAfee show where he just goes live and talks all sports and all that stuff all the time. I think he does it every day, which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's not really something.
For 3 hours. I think they're on from. I think it's 12 to 3. I think it's 12 to 2 on ESPN and 12 to 3 on YouTube for the last hour.
Yeah, good for them. It's not something that I would really want to do. Not that anybody's asking me to do it. But that's a bit longer for me. But I love like the morning show, and I also consume more stuff kind of in the morning when I'm just trying to learn some things and such. So like when I was like when maybe a few weeks ago had said, hey, listen, we have the ability to go live on YouTube. Should we just try it? I'm like, yeah, give it a go. And now over the last few weeks, classic TiVo and Pat, we have tailored our show completely to the YouTube live, which is again, I think. Is a good thing, but when you're talking about like any of these long forms, I mean, NFL RedZone is arguably the longest of form. I mean, when with no commercial breaks, it was going on for 7 consecutive hours.
Yeah.
And was Scott Hansen on the entire 7 hours?
Yeah, and he doesn't go to the bathroom. That's a famous clip of his. Is he has this regimen where he gets to the studio. He has a light lunch or a late breakfast. He eats whatever he wants to eat. Obviously, it's probably more of a lunch, but he eats around, I think it was 2 hours. So he eats at like 10:30, 11. And he doesn't, I think he stops drinking. He like dehydrates himself. Was what he's like. He doesn't drink any water when he wakes up. He has 1 bottled water with his lunch at 10:30, and then that's his only intake for the day. And yeah, he does one one final restroom break at 12:50, and then doesn't use the bathroom until like 7:30, 8 o'clock.
That's dedication. Love that for him. But it is 7 consecutive hours, and obviously they have a lot going on to keep people entertained. But when you're talking about like from our perspective of trying to keep people entertained. I mean, we were talking about pre-show today, how should we open the show? Because we're now kind of focused on the YouTube live, right? And we're focused on this video living afterwards. When we, push it out into the world, that is what, you kind of have to do. Like the moment somebody clicks on the show on this thumbnail, they want to be immediately into whatever it is that they clicked on. That's why they're there. And so, Scott Hansen for 7 hours, I mean, obviously people know what they're getting with RedZone. For 7 hours, though, keeping people entertained is not an easy thing to accomplish. It is certainly something that, again, he has help. He's got a whole production studio, and he's got obviously all the games going on that helps. But it still is. It's still not like a super easy. And you see a lot of times when you see some of these live shows, whether it be baseball, basketball, football, like you see there are points where people don't have anything to say. And then somebody's like, well, Charles Barkley, how are you doing? And like you just kind of go into something because you need to say something, just to keep viewership kind of in line. And again, that is what everybody's looking at. For context here, a little bit more, I had ChatGPT put together how they back into these big numbers. They did a little simplified breakdown. 50 million monthly views equals obviously about 600 million yearly. CPM valuation on these big deals, they're saying, is higher. They're saying with the leverage that they have to be able to negotiate, it's maybe $20 or so. And so that's 12 million in ad equivalent revenue. Exclusivity premium, they're giving a multiple on it. So you talk about 3x on that. So now they're saying it's 36 million. And then add the Halo / sub growth value of 10 to 20 million bucks. So you're talking about, with the growth value, which I think is probably, I understand like adding that a little bit, but let's say you don't consider that. The 36 million, per year is that's an interesting way of backing into that. They get a little bit of a higher CPM because of the audience, and then they can tack on a multiple to that. And then they get that per year for an average of however many years. And it's an interesting way of doing it. So it seems as though it's possible, at least as a baseline. It does seem as though people are still using the CPM model, maybe even at the higher levels, which again, it seems to be fairly, industry standard type of deal.
Yeah, and the exclusivity, especially, depending on the genre of ad, it's like, if DraftKings is buying out the rights and hey, we're advertising here, and you're not allowed to do FanDuel, you're not allowed to do Hard Rock Bet, you're not allowed to do all those other ones, and yeah, that's obviously going to kick up the premium.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it should. I think that's when nobody else is getting access to those viewers, you're the most top of mind. We've talked about that a lot with some of the stuff that I'm trying to do at the bars. It's like, hey, listen, if I'm going to work a deal with DraftKings and I'm not going to work a deal with anybody else, that means that my audience that comes in every weekend for college football and Sunday football, Thursday football, like they're only going to see DraftKings all the time. Like, so the likelihood of them betting on DraftKings and nobody else goes up, which means that the ad is more valuable. So it's not just the fact that we won't do it with anybody else. It's also the fact that the ad like actually gets more valuable if they don't see any other platform there. And so I didn't realize it was 3 times more valuable, but in this example from ChatGPT it is. But it's all to say that NFL RedZone is clearly going to make a ton of money, and all of this backlash about people canceling their subscription, I think ultimately is not real. It's not going to last. I think people are still going to want RedZone. I mean, you are a RedZone guy, TiVo, based off my understanding.
Yep.
I mean, are you going anywhere?
No, not now. I mean, again, I remembered obviously that that graphic commercial from last year just was instilled in my brain. It was traumatic, and yeah, you just love a product so much that you don't want it to change. The change is here; it's coming, and you'll see what it is. I mean, they can in theory ruin it. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's this year. I don't think that's the introduction of commercials. I think that it sucks. As just I think it's not a RedZone specific story. I just think obviously like everybody's being sold 24/7 because we're now all addicted to our cell phones and addicted to social media, and you're basically all your data has been tracked and all this. The more we learn about all the technology around us, as awesome as it is, it's invasive, and I think there's like a little bit of pushback on that. Just like, hey, I'm being sold 24/7. I finally found a product that was high octane action, and now you're taking that away from me too. So I think it's just a normal take for people. They'll get over it. Red Zone will be as successful as ever this year, I'm sure. But that's going to lead them to want to do more and more commercials. And then if we get, it's kind of like, you could get to a point where, all right, enough. They kind of ruined it, and then maybe somebody else will come out with something, even though NFL is the right, so I guess not. But it's kind of comparable to cutting the cord with all these streaming services. We're kind of on the back end of the streaming wars, I feel like, right now. If you go back 2-3 years ago, it was, cut the cord, and then there was some awesome I can't remember what I used in New York, but it was a cut the cord service. I really liked it. There was only a couple around, and then but you were still getting access to what you wanted. Like, you could get ESPN, you could get this. Now ESPN's pulling their service from the cut the cord service because they're going to offer their own service. And it went from like, okay, this is a cool like a la carte option to not have to deal with the cable bills and pick all these channels, because you got to pick this package and this package and that package to get what you want. And then now I can just kind of cut the cord and get it for all one price. And then the cable companies were like, or the individual brands were like, well, we're going to pull our stuff from this because then we'll charge a la carte. And now, like, again, the streaming wars. Remember, like, there's this random name that comes to my mind, Quibi. Do you remember Quibi?
Mm-mm.
Quibi was like a short form TV content app that raised like $1 billion or something, and it launched with partnership of like maybe Paramount or something. It lasted like literally 2 months, went bankrupt because nobody downloaded it. That was the peak of the streaming wars, was Quibi. And so yeah, and now there's too many, and people are starting to fold. So it's like we ended up. It's like a full circle. You end up right back where you are, and then stuff fails. So my specific example for Red Zone is, don't end up back where we were with why everybody loved Red Zone in the beginning, was because it was different. If you change it too much, you're going to end up right back where you were, and then people will start canceling and cutting.
Yeah, I mean, I could very easily see, a huge announcement in 5 years from now that they're going back to ad-free NFL Red Zone to try to attract more viewers again. I mean, the cycle, of these types of things, like you said, where they go too far and then they have to reel it back in. Also, it's, can you kind of integrate these ads into something that makes a lot of sense? Like, I always get a kick out of the like TikTok and Instagram reels that people put together. Like, what's that guy's name? He's a blonde fella. He makes the videos, and then he makes the videos of his neighbor watching him. He's hilarious. It might be Joey something. But he makes these videos, and he did one the other day where he was pretending to be like this general contractor that's coming to fix your stoop. And I was watching the whole video, and then randomly in the middle of the video, he like naturally slid in that he like dropped a rock on his shoe in the middle of like trying to show the guy where he needs to like fix his stoop, and like just kept going. And then he pretended as though the person asked him, the owner of the house asked him, well, why didn't that hurt? And he's talking about how he has these steel-toed shoes on, and that was the ad. But he integrated that into the video so well that I'm sure, like, if he's doing a CPM deal with that steel-toed company, I have to imagine that ad performed quite well from a views standpoint, because I was watching, because I love those videos that he does, and I was watching the whole thing, and then I didn't care that there was an ad in there. I thought it was kind of funny how he put the ad in there. And again, I have no interest in purchasing that, but I do remember it, and I am talking about it right here. And so for his demographic that might be there, they might be like, oh yeah, maybe they will purchase this steel-toed shoe. Because it's a little bit friendlier way of kind of having the ad come across. So not that NFL Red Zone is going to do it that way. I would actually argue that they're very likely to not do it that way. But if I'm a advertiser, right, with NFL Red Zone, if I am, let's say I wanted to do Sorry We're Closed, right? I want to buy ad space on from Sorry We're Closed for this NFL Red Zone package. I want to do it in a way that is so unbelievably not in your face. Like I might even do an ad where like I want to put it somewhere and I want to do it where we're letting you know that people at Sorry We're Closed are not going to interrupt your service. I'm buying this just so you can, and maybe it's like, hey, I'm buying this ad. I'm going to like put it right here, but it's really just going to show one of the games that just scored a touchdown. Just so it's not, to like almost like help the people of NFL Red Zone maintain their ad-free platform. I'm going to purchase it. And I think your ad would probably perform better that way. People will be like, oh, thank you, advertiser, for not ruining my experience with your ad. And now people start talking about Sorry We're Closed, and it grows and so on and so forth, which I've always wondered. Obviously, these ads take up a tremendous amount of money, which I don't have to be able to do. But like, I always wondered, like, if I advertise Sorry We're Closed on like a huge platform that would get me millions and millions of impressions, would we actually get that many views, like a lot of views in return? Obviously, it has to be naturally the right audience and all that. But let's say we did all that research and it was. Like, how much value would we really get out of it? Like, would we actually see that kind of a boost from that kind of an advertisement, TiVo? Do you think if we put because the NFL people are our audience, do you think if we put a Sorry We're Closed ad on the Super Bowl, what do you think our viewership is, increased percentage wise, the next show?
Yeah, so Super Bowl was the example I was thinking, because remember it was like the Kanye West ad.
Yeah.
Where it was just like, oh, I ran out of money buying this ad. Like, here, just scan this.
Yes.
And so when you have an audience like that, like you have a massive audience, you can get people to convert if you do something unique. And so I think if it was just a commercial of like me and you being, hey, like, we're Sorry We're Closed podcast. Hope we think you like the show. Please check it out. Like, that's not gonna work.
Actually, honestly, TiVo, if you did that audio, it may work. Hey guys, I'm sorry, we're closed.
No, so this is my point though. Like, you'll get the clicks. Like, no matter what, you'll get the clicks. The question is, so you're gonna 1000x the views, but like, can you keep them? And so whatever they're clicking towards would need to be a tailored spot to be really entertaining and show what we're all about, but also be super entertaining and get people to convert and stay.
Well, so here's my first off, the ad has to be, well, you have to go to the right audience. But again, let's say that the NFL is taking care of the audience for us, right? That this is the right people. My belief on ads always, and this is how I've done our show, TiVo, this is how I've done anything where I'm running an advertisement. My belief when it comes to the Sorry We're Closed marketing budget is I like what we do. I like the content that we put out. And so I just need to find the right people to help grow the show. And so, when it comes to a Super Bowl ad, my belief would be if we do something creative, like you said, where we get the maximum number of clicks from this audience that probably likes this type of stuff, then we would likely get people to click, and then our content is what's supposed to keep them, right? Ultimately, right? So it's instead of having to show the content, which may also be the way to get the most clicks, but instead of having to show the content, I think ultimately you might get more, clicks if you just do something creative, and then you'll keep them once they get into your world. That is ultimately what I think would do the best. If you don't have good content in the back end, you probably shouldn't be running a Super Bowl ad, because you're not going to get the value you need out of the Super Bowl ad. So, according to ChatGPT, which thought for 46 seconds, the short answer is a single in-game Super Bowl ad can plausibly drive 100K to 500K YouTube views on a solid execution, with 1 to 2 million upside if the creative CTA is exceptional and newsworthy. Baseline reach, you're buying Super Bowl, averaged 127.7 million viewers, which we talked about earlier in the show. 30-second in-game spots were 8 million this year. And so I mean, you have to keep the people. QR URL visit rate was 0.1% of average audience, so 128,000 visits. Click through from landing to YouTube, 40%, which is so 51,000 sessions. YouTube view completion threshold met for 70% of those, 36,000 counted views. Viral news lift 2x, so 70K views. Realistic, you're talking about 240,000 maybe or so is people that come in. I don't know. Here's the thing, like we just talked about, Devo. You'd have to keep the people for more than just that video for it to actually make sense for you. Clearly, there is an audience, and you could probably convert that audience, but you'd have to be able to keep people around long enough that would, and the content has to be good enough for you to consistently, kind of leverage that now. And then here's the other thing as well. If you keep that audience at 240,000, 360,000 views, if you keep that audience, you then can monetize the show in a much better way, obviously. So that would be the return on investment there. And can you keep them long enough for advertisers to constantly want to stroll in? And how much money would that turn into? Who knows? I mean, at that point, you're talking about that CPM deal that we talked about earlier. If you're doing 200,000 now views per show, you're talking about we do once a week, so you're talking about 800,000 a month, which would be I don't know how much for it's 80 or whatever times the 20. So you're not doing terrible, but to get that $1 million back to buy, or $8 million back, right? That's what they said the Super Bowl ad needed. I think you have to keep people for a lot of shows. You have to get people in, and then on a podcast, like I know you want to get people just to kind of, if you get, let's say 50 new views on a show, the odds of you keeping all 50 of them for the next show are slim. You're probably going to keep a fraction of that. And that's why you just constantly have to be showing. That's what I do on YouTube. That's where we really care about our show here is on YouTube. You have to just keep pumping it out to people that may like your show. And then if they do, then they stick around. And I think that ultimately is how you kind of work through that. But I don't know if it's that, if it's something else, but from a NFL Super Bowl ad conversion, it's risky. You got to get $1 million. You're going to get 1 million views. You're going to get, or let's say you're going to get 250,000 views, and you have to keep them at a high rate for a long time. And you have 200,000 new viewers you don't know a whole lot about. So it would be an interesting kind of model on how we do it all, but. Nonetheless, TiVo, if you got an extra $1 million laying around, maybe a good, fun little way to advertise Starboard Clothes if you're up for it.
Yeah, I mean, we're just a 10x away from Bitcoin, and we'll have plenty of it. We could do 2 commercials.
And I'm sure our now live viewers are going to skyrocket because there was a mention of Bitcoin on the show. Ultimately, though, TiVo, and we'll leave it here, but ultimately, TiVo, what do you think from a RedZone? Do you think they grow? You think we keep going? Nobody's going to really matter. It's going to be a little bit of a blur. People, as long as they do the normal commercials, we're not going to have an issue.
Yeah, year 1 doesn't matter. It'll probably grow or definitely stay the same. Revenue will jump, and then I think it's the years 2 through 3 and 2 and 3 that. Are they going to get greedy and be like, all right, let's double the commercials and then, all that stuff? Or are they moving towards that Netflix model where now there's going to be a premium subscription to do no ads, and then there's a second tier with ads, and then, according to Netflix and their earnings calls, the actual tier, again, it's not free with commercials, but it's like, I'm just throwing a number. I don't know exactly what it is. $25 a month Netflix, no commercials, or you could do the $15 a month with commercials, and actually the $15 a month with commercials is more profitable for Netflix than the $25 subscription. So maybe that's something that NFL, RedZone cooks up. That type of idea. There's definitely It'll definitely work from profits. It's going to make money, and again, nobody's going anywhere year one for sure. But I do think it's a slippery slope where you can just kind of ruin the product eventually.
Yeah. No, I probably would agree
Which
with you.
Disney and ESPN has been known to do.
Yes. I mean,
That's going to
listen.
tie a knot on it for me because look at their track record over the last 10 years. I mean, they butchered Sports Center. They've butchered all these talk shows about football and all this stuff. I mean, like a couple weeks ago, there's the person on First Take was like, "Oh wow, like really repping Deion Sanders hard," and Drewski's like, "No, this is Barry Sanders." It's like, what are we doing?
What are we doing
What are we
here?
doing?
Well, talking about Disney owning something else that I think I had personal experience in hating it was Hulu. I originally, this is years ago, going back, I bought like a $5 Hulu New Year's special for the year with ads, and it was $5 for the whole year just to get you onto Hulu. And I was like, all right, sure. And then maybe a year in or something like that. I don't watch Hulu a ton, but I had like a few shows on there that I liked, so I started now watching Hulu more, which is great work by the way, guys. You got me into the ecosystem, and I stayed around. But I'll take you one step further. The ads were so annoying. They were so long. They were, all of a sudden, just in the middle of a show, you're dropping this advertisement that it seems to be forever. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And so well, which is probably music to Hulu's ears, possibly based off what you just said with Netflix, it might not be, but I upgraded to no ads. It was just miserable. I hated every second of it. So with what you're saying here, as $15 with ads is more profitable for Netflix, I think that likely translates in the coming years that the Netflix without ads goes up in price, because now you want, the pricing model, you want people to choose the $15 no ads. So now it's not even like, maybe it would cost Netflix, like maybe they need to charge $60 a head to make it more profitable than the $15, right? They may not go all the way up to there, but they need to get to a number where they think it makes less sense for most people to just go to the $15. Alex Ramosi talks about
yes and no, but that's where you get, again, then you're abandoning your initial idea for the product. So you're abandoning it, and then that's where, again, I think you start risking ruining your product for everybody, where people just go, you know what, screw it, I'm done with Netflix. It's not a trade down. It's like, I got Netflix because I want this, and now they're trying to screw me. It's like, that's what I think could happen with RedZone, is like, eventually you can ruin the product. That's what we're talking about, the streaming wars, right? Netflix has won the streaming wars. Netflix is a verb, just like Uber, right? They've won. So then you want to keep being profitable, and they've done plenty of things to continue their profitability, but because you won, do you then want to ruin the product? Because that eventually there is a tipping point. There is a tipping point for everything at some point. So that's my thought. Is I don't disagree with what you're saying from a business sense. It's like, that's the profit, the all eyes on profit. But once you do the all eyes on profit, you're going to lose customers, and it can still, and both could be true. You could do it my way and say, hey, we're going to keep the core value and always have an affordable, free, no ad option. Or you can abandon it and say, hey, we're a money-making, publicly traded company. This is how it goes. And both can be successful long-term. I don't think this is going to put Netflix out of business by any means, but you will see a shift, and it opens the door up for competition, right?
Yeah, well, listen. You explained that perfectly. When we're going into this type of a world, you have to not only, it's not only about price, right? And incentivizing your audience to choose the one that's more profitable for you. It's not only about that, like you said. Like, maybe if you make it $60 a head for Netflix, you'll make more money now on the non-ad free or on the ad free portion of your platform. But are people being like, I don't want ads and I don't want to pay $60, so I'm just going to go somewhere else? Like, that's also a possibility. So you may have to do a situation where you're adding value for the $60, right? There's maybe 3 tiers now. Now you have the ad free at 30, but you don't get X, Y, and Z. I mean, you also like you talk about like YouTube TV and all these other TV that are buying the rights to ESPN. They're buying the right to be able to show all these games and stuff. You talk about how that works kind of for them, and you start seeing them get into wars, right? I know YouTube TV forever was in an argument with Yes Network here, the Yankees network, and they weren't paying as much, and then you start understanding a little bit. Now there's obviously you know a little bit of both probably here, but you could argue that YouTube TV is looking out for you. Because if they end up spending X for the Yes Network, that's going to drive the price up of ESPN. It's going to drive the price up for the NFL. It's going to drive the price up for everyone, which means that their platform has to get more expensive. And if they think they're at a certain number where they don't want to increase the cost any longer, that's a really good thing for them. On the flip side, for me in restaurants, like I can't. I can go to my landlord or I can go to my insurance company. Insurance, I have no chance of winning. They just don't care. But I can go to maybe my landlord and say, hey, listen, if the rent keeps going the way it's going, I'm going to be kind of handcuffed here. I'm going to have to keep increasing prices, which is really going to hurt my customers, which is going to put this, my restaurant, which has been a loyal, let's say, tenant for 20 years, in jeopardy a little bit more. It's gonna make things a little bit more shaky. And then you put the landlord in a position where they have to choose whether they now want the stability, maybe a little bit less rent, but stability, or do they want to keep pushing the envelope and say we don't care, you got to pay your rent. And maybe it goes into a little bit of dicey waters, right? And that's going to be case by case with the landlord on what they want. We have a landlord here in town that I think is pushing out a particular type of restaurant from their location, and I think it's because they have a big office building, right? And this office building has all these huge companies. They just got a huge company in there that's probably paying hundreds of thousands a month for the rent there. They probably are doing a few different floors. Like it's probably a huge operation. But in order for that landlord to attract those types of clients, those types of clients look for, hey, what else is in the building? What are the amenities? What are, hey, listen, what kind of restaurant is downstairs? If it's not the type of restaurant they want, they may look at somewhere else that has this restaurant that they like. What part of town is it in? That's what they're all looking for. And so now it's not so much. You don't really care about the $40,000 a month that your restaurant's paying down there, even if it's been successful for however many years. You don't care so much anymore. Now you need that restaurant to go in and be something that is awesome, that is higher end, a better concept that's going to get these big corporations that love that kind of a concept in there, right? That's what they want. And so you could do it. And it's an opportunity for a restaurateur. I passed up on it, but it's an opportunity to go in there and be like, hey, listen, you're pushing these guys out, probably, right? So you want a new concept. That's great. If I'm going to do a new concept, I need a ton of value from you as a landlord, as a landlord to kind of take on this risk. There's a lot of risk in this game, and the restaurant business isn't what it once was. It's tough to get it. And here's the other thing. We need money to market this. We need to be able to build an audience, which we've seen at the waiting room can take years to accomplish. And so, you go into the landlord and be like, hey, listen, I'll do it. I'll sign a 10-year lease with you. But the first 3 years in rent may need to be free because I need to use that money. I can only raise $1 million. If I have to use, 400,000 of that in the first year to go and give you rent, I'm going to be in a bind because I have operational costs and all that other stuff, and I have to spend less money now on marketing and building this long-term value for you. So hey, listen, I need a favorable rent on the back end, and I need a first couple years free so I can take what I would have spent on rent because I can only raise so much, right? There's only so many people out there that want to be in restaurants right now unless I go into a different type of world, but banks don't lend on it and all that stuff. So I can only raise so much. So now I have to use that rent money, what I would have spent on rent that I can raise, and I need to attribute it to marketing, and I need to just flood people with this new restaurant. And does that take away from my other restaurants and all these other things that play into that role? But that's kind of the game here. And I don't know how I got on that rant there, TiVo, but that is the game when it comes to a lot of what's going on in this world is giving things. Oh, that's what it was. The added value, giving these Netflix. If you're going to go charge $55 because you have to, you might need to add at least some perceived value to upgrade to that level. And you might need to. And if you can sustain it, you're going to have you're going to have your competition follow it. Because most people are going to be like, I'm not going to be the first one to charge that much money, even though we want to because we need the money. I'm not going to be the first one to do that. So what is the added value? If Disney decides to pull ESPN and all the NFL stuff from all the other platforms, can't do it. Can only stream live on Hulu. Okay. Well, I think you might be able to get away with a bigger number during the year because of that. 'Cause that's added value. Now, you won't get on YouTube TV. You won't get anywhere else, and everybody wants to watch that. I don't think they'll ever do that, but it's just an example of something that you might be able to do to warrant the higher price that people will be like, yeah, I'm happy to go do that. Now, again, I don't know if they'd be happy, but they'll do it because they love the NFL. So anyway, happy NFL Thursday, the first one of the year. We're back. Summer is over, and it's an exciting time here, at least in Hoboken. I know everybody's excited about this stuff. The NFL is obviously one of the best times of the year. I've always said that September 1st to the new year is the best time of the year. It is so much fun. Different holidays, different nice weather up until December probably. It's just a really nice time of year. So listen, everyone's excited. Happy NFL Thursday. Cowboys and Eagles tonight, TiVo. I have a feeling who you're going to pick to win, but TiVo, can I get your pick?
Go Birds.
Go Birds. I mean, listen, let's call a spade here. The Eagles are probably the better team this year. The Cowboys just always suck, dude.
Well, that's why they had to schedule it the first week. Like the Cowboys, definitely. I think it's a toss-up game tonight. I really do. I think the Cowboys can come out strong, but that's they can only play for 5 to 6 weeks, and then Dak's gonna get hurt, and it's just like the whole team falls apart by the week 7, week 8. So you got to schedule these games early. Let them win a couple. That's just how it is. You got to schedule the Cowboys early so they can get a couple good games in and before it all falls apart. So again, it's a long season for everybody else, not for the Cowboys, obviously, but it's we'll let them get some primetime shine before the wheels fall off.
There you go. Well, it's the NFL is back. We're excited, and we'll see. We will track to see how NFL RedZone does over the course of this year and moving forward. But guys, I hope you have a terrific. First off, if you're listening here live, I hope you have a terrific first NFL week. Enjoy this. It's the best time of year. Light a nice fall candle. Have a cup of coffee in the morning. Get yourself ready. Get yourself on your couch. Maybe make some homemade guacamole. Enjoy yourself. Because it's not going to be here forever, guys. All of a sudden, snap the fingers, TiVo. It's going to be the middle of November, and you'll be like, holy shit, how did that happen? But anyway, guys, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. And if you are listening to this on Monday or Tuesday, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. And again, tune in live right around 7:15 every Thursday on YouTube. And until next time.